Dr. Chernus joined the San Marino Unified School District in July of 2014, following his position as Chief Financial Officer of the Los Angeles County Office of Education. Dr. Chernus also serves as an adjunct professor at the University of Southern California, where he earned his ED in 2008. In his prior role as CFO, Dr. Chernus certified the budgets of all 80 school districts in Los Angeles County, which included over $13 billion in fiscal oversight. He routinely instructed superintendents and school business officials throughout the county on the new state funding and accountability laws and procedures, the Local Control Funding Formula, or LCFF, and the Local Control Accountability Plan. Dr. Chernus has held leadership positions for more than 10 years, beginning in the Beverly Hills Unified School District, where as principal of Hawthorne School, he led the school to the highest API score in the district and achieved a California Distinguished School honor. As Director of Human Resources and Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Dr. Chernus successfully served in a variety of leadership roles, including the mentoring of site administrators, the fiscal management of the district's $330 million school construction program, and the establishment and facilitation of the district's finance committee and the Basic Aids Special Reserve Fund. His other professional accomplishments include having been named the American Association of School Administrators Education Scholar, the USC Dean Superintendent's Advisory Group Scholar, and the Beverly Hills Unified School District Administrator of the Year. Please give a warm round of applause for Dr. Alex Chernus.
Good evening. It's fitting that I'm going to be talking about a basketball gym tonight. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a basketball coach. And I played basketball in high school until I decided it's much more fulfilling to coach basketball and a lot less tiring. So my senior year, I coached a Little League basketball, junior basketball team. And I liked it so much I wanted to be a professional basketball coach someday. So my brother at the time was at UCLA, and he went into Pauley Pavilion and got a hold of Coach Herrick and told Coach Herrick, who was the basketball coach at the time, how his little brother wanted to be a basketball coach and anything he could do to help out. So my senior year, I got a letter from Coach Herrick, and it said, if you get into UCLA, and that's a big if at the time, you can be a manager on the basketball team. And you work your way up. You start as the third manager. By your senior year, you could be the senior manager and travel with the team. So I was really excited. At first I had to get into UCLA, so obviously I applied to UCLA and a few other schools, and I got into UCLA. But I also got into UC Santa Barbara. So I decided, well, you know, I've been to UCLA. My brother at the time was a senior at UCLA, so I should visit Santa Barbara. So I went up to Santa Barbara and I saw that they had, the students had their own beach, and I decided that my career path would have to be put on hold. So graduated from Santa Barbara and with the idea of still wanting to be a coach. And I think that's primarily why I got into teaching, is because good teachers are good coaches. And they inspire, they motivate, and they take joy in seeing kids learn. And so that's ultimately why I went into teaching. I started teaching up in Ojai, and was there for a few years, and then moved to Beverly Hills, and taught in Beverly Hills and kind of worked my way up. I enjoyed coaching so much that I wanted to coach teachers, really, and so I got into school administration and got my master's in administration and started working through kind of working up the ranks, and was a principal in Beverly Hills for 3 years. And it's a great experience there. And then decided to start, I taught mathematics, and so I went back to school and to study school finance. and became ultimately the business official in Beverly Hills, and did that for about 3 years. And then I decided it was time to get some more different experience. And so I got a job at the LA County Office of Education. And so the way that school districts work in California, there are 55 county offices of education in the state of California. Los Angeles County Office of Education is the largest county office in the country. It supports 80 school districts. Los Angeles Unified School District is a district within the county office. So I worked in the county office. People say, you worked in LAUSD. I did not. I worked at the LA County office, which oversaw LAUSD and 79 other districts. Now, LAUSD alone has 10% of the students in the state of California. So 700,000 students in LAUSD alone. And so, yeah, their budget is $6 billion, just theirs. So, you know, that $13 billion of oversight, half of it is LAUSD. So I spent quite a bit of time working with LAUSD. But there's a whole side of the county office that from Beverly Hills I didn't know existed. And that was probably the most interesting part of my job. And that was overseeing the largest incarcerated youth population in the country. And so state law predicates that until you're 18 years old, you are legally, the state is legally required to offer you a free and appropriate education, whether you're in jail or not. So if you are incarcerated before 18, you go to a school which is essentially a jail. The Department of Probation runs what we call camps. And so in LA County, we have 9 of these camps. Probation runs them. That means the probation officers are there. The kids are obviously boarded there. They're segregated between boys and girls. Sometimes they're segregated housing units, which they call the SHU. And whether you're in one of those, whether you're in general population, you get to be educated. And so the county office, at the county office, we employed all the teachers, the principals, the psychologists, to go in and educate these kids. And so my job was to make sure that these schools were running efficiently, the teachers had the equipment they needed. These are some of the hardest schools to educate kids that you've ever seen. Just to give you an example, the state average for special education students in California is about 10%. In the incarcerated youth schools, it's 20%. So kids have special needs. There's always an officer in every classroom. Teachers are often attacked. It's really hard to get, obviously, good teachers to teach there. It's a special teacher that'll teach in these facilities. So that was a great experience. And also, 6 months onto the job, I dealt with the 7th school bankruptcy in the history of the state of California. And that was Inglewood. And so one of my jobs, as David mentioned, is to certify these budgets for 80 school districts. Well, one of them was not looking good and getting worse fast, and that was Inglewood, USD. And so they were going to run out of money. They needed a loan from the state of California. So the way a school bankruptcy, a district bankruptcy works is you need to first author legislation to be passed and approved by the Senate or Assembly and ultimately signed by the governor in order to get a district a loan. And so the first thing we had to do was find the local senator or assemblyman that would sponsor the bill. Well, that's hard to do because it's not a very popular bill to sponsor. What happens in a state takeover is the first thing that happens is the Board of Education, their authority is immediately removed. They no longer have a vote. And they don't have a vote until the loan is paid off and the district is returned back to the local community. So the state will put a trustee to oversee the operations of the district. The trustee is like me. It's the superintendent. They're called the trustee. They're the only voting member of the school district. So it's a power of one. They can give raises, they can hire, they can fire. The school board can still show up to the meetings, but they can talk, but they have no vote. So, and I've worked for some school board members that I wish I had that authority. Not here, though. So we got the Assembly bill, Senate bill, SB 533, sponsored, and I had to testify before the appropriations, and the bill was ultimately passed. The governor signed the bill. Inglewood received a $55 million loan, and a trustee was installed. And so that was a real interesting and challenging experience. At the time, with that experience and my desire to kind of broaden my learning, I started teaching at USC. Now, I got my doctorate at USC back in 2008. And so as part of the doctoral program, there's a requirement for every student to take a school finance class. And so that's the class that I started teaching, and I'm still teaching today. And we talk about things like the Inglewood takeover, how the funds work, how they come from the state to the county offices, and then dispersed to the school districts, all the way down to how to operate a budget at a school site. So it's a real important class, I think, for school administrators. And I enjoy it quite a bit. So I was there almost 3 years, and then I decided to look for another opportunity, and that's when the position here, the superintendent of San Marino, presented itself. So here I am today in my third year, really enjoying my experiences in San Marino, and it's people like you that make this district so special. It's the community. So many of our community members have had children go through the schools, but there's still a connection, and so I appreciate that, and I have some family ties. A second cousin is Chuck Chernus, who was the editor of the Pasadena Star for many years, and his father was a prominent judge in Pasadena, Sid Chernus. So a quick plug, this weekend, the Huntington Breakfast, Saturday. Tickets are on sale in the back. I will be there flipping pancakes, so we encourage you to get some tickets and to show up. And at this time, I'm going to talk a little bit about one of our big projects that we have in the works. One of my roles here is to really determine what are the needs of this community. And from the start, I asked a lot of questions. And clearly, as far as facilities go, the primary need is a gym here at Huntington. And so we've decided to build this gym. And it's more than a gym. And it's something that the entire community is really going to be able to use and enjoy. The current gymnasium was built as an art room in the 30s, I believe. So it's inadequate. If you've had kids try to play volleyball, they have to serve from the hallway. So it's not, you can't play regulation basketball. It's not the regulation size. And so it's completely inadequate. So we've decided to design and to build a structure that our community deserves. And if you look around other districts these days, the facilities are really top-notch. And so if we're going to say we're the top district in the state, which we believe we are, we really should have the best facilities in the state as well. And so we've decided to not just build a gym, but this will be a fitness center, media classrooms, a multi-purpose room used for a wrestling room, and then a track and field. This is called the Barth Athletic Complex, and that's because of the generosity of Andy and Avery Barth. their family has really stepped up and given quite a bit of money to make this a reality. Recently, we also had a large donation from Tim and Lisa Sloan. The Sloan family will have the Sloan Fitness Center in this facility as well. And Jim Barger has stepped up for the multi-purpose wrestling room as well. So here's a view of it. The current parking lot, it's going to be right behind us where the current gym is right now. We're not going to alter the parking lot, nor are we going to alter where the location of the tennis courts are. What we're going to do is kind of build back towards the field. And so that's kind of a view from the front. Here's another shot from the parking lot. And that's how it would look from the field if you're on the Huntington field, kind of looking back towards it. I know this is kind of hard to see, but what you see here is straight ahead would be this plaza and then the gym. But in addition to it, there's going to be a two-story building kind of to the left of it. And here's kind of the detail. On the bottom floor, you'll have 2 media classrooms in the Sloan Fitness Center. And then right above it will be the second story will be that multi-purpose room. And then, of course, our 8,000 square foot gym, that'll be 1 full court and 2 courts going side by side. We'll have some bleachers in there. It's just going to be a fabulous facility. And you know, it's important to know that right now, when it's really hot out, when it's raining, we have to cancel PE. We have nowhere to go. So this is going to directly impact the education of our kids immediately. There's also going to be opportunities for adult leagues. The city is going to be able to benefit quite a bit from this, and the community. So it's exciting. Here's kind of a look straight down. You'll see that the plaza area, and then the gym and the corresponding classrooms. We're going to blend the architecture into the current architecture, so it's going to look really nice and seamless. And here's again a view from the backside. We have still some naming opportunities left, though. The largest naming opportunity available is the gym itself. And so that is something that we're gonna go after and hopefully find a good match. We're raising as much money as we can for the project. We've raised locally over $4.5 million for the project. The district's contributing $2 million. And we're also going to be asking the city to contribute for the project as well. And the goal is to raise as much as we can. We'd like to raise $10 million. So significantly less than the amount we're going to borrow for the project. An estimate right now, and this is only an estimate, it's about a $14 million project. We won't know exactly until we actually go to bid on the project. But it's exciting. The plans are now with the Department of State architects. And so they already sent us their first version. We're making some adjustments, resubmitting. We hope to have the plans finalized by the end of December, and then we'll bid the project, which will be a few months. Demolition of the current building will be in June 1st. And it'll be about 18 months to build from start to finish.
So I think similar to past months, we are going to have a prepared question format. So I'm standing way back here because the mic seems to be picking up some feedback. But Dr. Chernis, the first question we have is related to your personal background. You grew up in Seal Beach. Would you mind talking about your childhood and what was it like growing up in that community? And how would you compare and contrast these 2 great school districts?
Can you hear me? I can talk really loud if I have to. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so grew up in Seal Beach. Born in Taipei, Taiwan. My dad was a banker. and he worked for UCB, one of the first American banks to open up in Taiwan. And so we moved to Taipei, where I was born, lived there for about a year. My family lived there for almost 3 years. Then we moved to Brussels, and then we came here when I was about 4 years old to Seal Beach. Los Alamitos Unified School District was, I went through kindergarten through 12th grade, and there is a lot of similarities. It's a small, very high-performing public school district. And I think I really believe in public schools. I believe in the diversity public schools bring, the opportunities, and really all our kids should be entitled to great public school education. So I think it's one of the reasons that I was attracted to San Marino, is because it's also a great public school district. But very similar communities. The parents are very involved, educated, and high expectations.
Okay, second question. The school year began with the announcement that SMUSD was named the top unified school district in California for the 14th consecutive year. They say it is lonely at the top. Can you talk about the burden and pressure of being number one, and what are some of the factors that you see contributing to this success?
Well, I was happy to learn that I had a job for another year. No, I continue to stress that being number one or having the highest achievement should be the result of the work you do, not the focus. And so if we just focus on delivering the best possible education to our kids, the results really should take care of themselves. And it shouldn't be just about where we're ranked. It should be what we do. Ranked number one, and there's no award for it, really. There's no trophy for it. So more importantly, more than the ranking, I'm proud of the work we've done. We've really expanded so many programs in this district in the last few years. We've brought computer science and computer coding to the forefront of what we're doing from the elementary level all the way to the high school. We brought in some new programs, new partnerships. We have a new course at the Huntington Library, which is outstanding. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice being number one, and I'm not going to lie. It's a great honor for our teachers. I know our teachers are very proud of it. Our kids are proud. Our community's proud of it. So it is important, but it's not necessarily the ultimate focus.
Okay, you've mentioned that the success of SMUSD starts with the Board of Education. Can you discuss how this board is unique relative to boards you've worked with at LACOE or Beverly Hills? And Namjack, Joseph Chang, Chris Norgard, Shelley Ryan, and Lisa Link seems like a wide variety of personalities. Tell me how you think they complement one another.
Well, first of all, at the county office, it's an interesting dynamic because the board members are appointed, so they're not elected officials. And there's 7 board members at the county office. And the superintendent of the county office is actually not even hired by the school board. The superintendent of the county office in LA County is hired by the county supervisors. So it's a different dynamic. Our board, I think cohesiveness, experience are some words that come to the forefront. It's important to have board members that understand the culture of the community, because there's so much history, especially in San Marino. And so I've relied heavily on our school board to understand, kind of to help troubleshoot issues before they become issues. And I think our board is really adept at understanding the community. They have a good sense of the history. And they're also real dedicated to their job. You don't make a lot of money for your salary as school board members. In fact, our school board donates their honorarium every year right back to the district. And so they're really giving their time because they believe in education, they believe it's important. And so it's important for us to remember that. They have, we owe quite a bit of gratitude to our school board for the success of the school district. And one of the reasons we're the top achieving district is because we've had a real cohesive group, and you don't see that. There's many districts, and one of my former ones, you know, there's a lot of dissent among the school board, publicly, privately, and you don't have that here. The school board really sets the tone for the district, and I've seen districts with dysfunctional school boards, and you're not going to be able to hire good people to work there. So it's a critically important thing, and for superintendents, when we talk to each other and we say, you know, how's the job? First question is always, how's your school board? Is it a split board? And so is it a split board, meaning are they voting 3-2 on everything? Because you're stuck in the middle. And fortunately, we don't have that here in San Marino.
The next question relates to the closed campus. At the start of the 2016-2017 school year, both Carver and Valentine officially became closed campuses, a decision that will have its fair share of both supporters and detractors. Can you discuss the logic behind this decision? How has it worked out? And do you anticipate any unintended consequences associated with the decrease in parental presence on campus?
Well, first of all, Carver's been closed since I arrived 3 years ago. And so the only change this year is we mirrored the security at Carver at Valentine. And then that is to make sure that not anyone from the street can walk in the middle of the campus. And the decision wasn't made in a vacuum. It was recommended by the police department as a way to secure the campus, and a relatively easy fix. And so we did that at Valentine. And we've actually had quite a bit of positive feedback, a lot more positive than not. We don't want to discourage parent participation. That's not the goal. But parent participation is not the priority. School safety is the priority. And so that's why we made that decision. But we made it because it was a reasonable security fix. At the middle school and the high school, we have different challenges. The structure of the campus, we're not going to be able to secure it in the same subtle way without fencing the entire campus. And this community really values the way the schools are structured and the openness, and we take that into account. We take into account that our police response time is under a minute. So even though the middle school and high school are relatively open, you know, we know that if we call the police, they're going to come right away. But we are looking at ways to make the middle and high school as secure as possible and close to the level of security that we have at Valentine and Carver. And I'm going to speak to that in a little bit.
Okay, next question is related to technology. You've been committed to state-of-the-art technology since day one. Other than being a generally progressive individual, was there anything in particular that drove this focus on technology, and how have you modified the curriculum to incorporate technology?
Well, the curriculum has modified itself. And when any new curriculum, we adopted new English curriculum this year. That means new textbooks from a new publisher. And a majority of this is online. So the kids aren't having, hopefully won't have 100-pound backpacks that they're lugging back and forth, because they can access it online and do their homework from the text that they can access online. So curriculum is changing, and it's just a matter of supporting that. As far as the technology in the classroom, the structure of a classroom is looking much different. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and in many cases even today, you go to the computer lab to get your technology, to learn how to type. Well, that needs to change quickly. Every classroom needs to be their own computer lab. The media, the multimedia that kids access now can be anywhere. It can be in this room. It could be outside at the park or in a classroom. So what's changing with technology is how the instruction's being delivered. And so classrooms also need to be designed differently. They need to be more flexible. 30 chairs and 6 rows facing the teacher lecturing is not what our kids are as accustomed to, and not how our kids are going to learn the best. So we need to change. Times are changing. Kids learn differently, and so technology just goes along with it.
You recently introduced a class called Mindfulness to provide an avenue where young people can help themselves deal with the pressures of modern life by teaching them exercises to reduce stress and anxiety. You also partnered with the Huntington Library to create an Honors Humanities class. What drives these sorts of innovation?
Well, I'm always thinking about better ways to enrich our kids. We're competing with school districts, public and private, that are, in many cases, have a lot more resources than we do. And so they're able to provide amazing courses. So I had to look at, what do we have in San Marino that's unique? Well, we have the Huntington in San Marino. So why don't we develop a course that is a blended learning course? So half the time they're at the Huntington, half the time they're online, and they're 1 day at the Huntington, 1 day at the high school, and 3 days online. And so it's a blended learning course. It's similar to a college course, and so it's about taking advantage of the resources you have. The other thing I found in this district is our kids are under quite a bit of pressure. And so we needed to find a way to have an outlet for our students. And so the mindfulness program is really teaching kids skills, hopefully lifelong skills, to deal with stress. It's breathing exercises, meditations, in many cases only 5 minutes once a day or once a week. But we've just seen quite a bit of positive feedback from our kids, from our teachers. And so it's always about looking at ways to improve what we're doing.
So let's talk principals. All 4 schools are led by strong site principals and have experienced strong academic performance. Obviously, the importance of test scores cannot be ignored. That said, can you please talk about the criteria by which you measure the success of the site?
Schools take on the personalities of their principals. And so I want principals that are dynamic, forward-thinking, and primarily focused on instruction. I want them to be the instructional leaders of their school site. So I evaluate a principal the same way a principal is evaluating their teachers, how well the teachers are teaching. So I spend quite a bit of time at the school sites with the principals in classrooms. And that's the primary focus, is we talk about education, we talk about it, and we're very fortunate here. We have 4 really amazing principals with a ton of experience, and I attribute so much of our success to our principals. But it's critical to have great principals and to motivate the teachers and to inspire the kids. And I'm sure you all remember your principals and your teachers. So it's an important job.
All right. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So next question is related to capital improvements. The district just completed a board study session in which the facilities master plan will be further developed. What is the significance of this master plan, and how would you respond to individuals who argue things are fine the way they are?
Well, we just did a board study session on our facilities, and we're trying to plan for the next 10, 20 years. And so, as I mentioned, many school districts around us have either gone out for a construction bond like South Pasadena. Okay. Arcadia, Monrovia, there's a lot of funds, and so you look at their facilities, there are some amazing facilities. And here we have some great buildings that we just modernized, and then we have some very old buildings. And so we're looking at reshaping how this district's going to look for many years to come. And there's two big projects at the high school. The two big projects at the high school is, number one, is the West Wing, which is the 3-400 side, and then the Performing Arts Wing, the East Wing. And then the gym, if you've been in the gym, it's very hot in the summer, very cold in the winter, so we're looking to add HVAC to the gym. So these circles represent the two major areas that we're looking to upgrade, as I mentioned. The red circle is the west side of the building. This structure was built in 1960. And so what we want to do is we want to not only build a new structure, we want to also use the construction to secure the campus and add more parking. And so the plan would be to demo the whole west wing, which we call the 3-400 wing, and attach a new two-story structure from the front administration building to the new math science building. So essentially, if you see the wing here in the red circle, we'd be moving it towards the center of the campus. That would secure the campus and would also give us more parking, which we are in dire need of. Now the big blue circle, that's the Performing Arts Wing. That was built in 1953, and if you've been in that gym, there is also no heating and air, and there's also just the lighting, the controls. We need a new auditorium, and it's clear. So we did a needs assessment for the auditorium, and just about everything you can think of we need in there. We need air, technology, equipment, lighting, acoustics, the ceiling, tiles, just about everything. So we're gonna propose to rebuild that entire wing. The other big need in San Marino is the swimming pool. We have one swimming pool at the high school. It's not a very big swimming pool. It's a little L shape, and it gets more use between the district and the city than any other facility we have. So we need another pool. So the proposal is to build a second pool. So we'll have two in San Marino, up where what we call the upper parking lot is, by the track and field. The other big priority at the school is we have a lot of portable classrooms. These are temporary classrooms that should be used during construction for a finite period of time. And what's happened in San Marino is these portables have just been treated as permanent facilities, and they're not. So we need new classrooms in many of the school sites. So at Carver, the big project is removing the portables, and then also looking at some other things, adding some shade, improving on the lunch area, and the tennis court. It's working. Let's see here. So here's a couple pictures from Carver. The first small circle, that's where the portable classrooms are that we want to expand on. And then the larger one is that lunch area. And then we have some ambitious plans for Valentine as well. There's 7 portable classrooms that are bordering the preschool and the church. And we want to add a new structure. And then the other thing at Valentine, we don't have a multi-purpose room. We have a small little theater, but we have nothing we can do performances at. And so all our performances at Valentine, we have to go, our parents and kids have to go to Huntington. So we want to build a new multi-purpose room and also a cafeteria. our little kids have to walk over to the middle school to get a hot lunch as well. And so we don't think we should be doing that. And then upgrading our heating and air, which is, it's a big deal. If you're trying to learn and it's 100 degrees in the classroom because the air conditioning isn't working, you know, it's hard to learn.
Okay. Fiscal funding gap. The next question is related to the fiscal funding gap. Can you please explain local state control funding formula, or LCFF, and why San Marino received less funding than 99% of the districts in the state?
So 3 years ago, the governor changed the school funding formula, and he basically said, he actually specifically said, kids in Beverly Hills don't need the same things that kids in Compton need. He held a press conference in Compton, and he shared that. And with that, the meaning behind it is low socioeconomic areas will get the majority of the money, and high socioeconomic areas won't get any more money. And so in San Marino, we have to continue to raise money locally. Foundation, PTA, parcel taxes, in order to just try to keep up with the programs other districts can offer.
Okay. Can you talk about any implications and how this increases the difficulty of expanding different programs? Or?
Yeah, other districts are having their number one, most districts, large urban districts, their biggest challenge is how do we hide the money from the unions so they don't get it all in teacher raises. Here, it's how do we provide the programs we want to that will give our kids an advantage, a great experience, enrichment. And so we struggle every year, and we rely oftentimes on the same families over and over and over to support the school district. And that's why people like you, it's so important to have a community behind a district like ours. Because if we didn't get local support, our district wouldn't have science, we wouldn't have art, we wouldn't have music, we wouldn't have PE. All those programs, we are essentially self-funding.
Okay, last prepared question before I turn it over to the audience. What keeps you up at night? What are the 3 biggest threats to SMUSD that keep you up at night? And how are you mitigating these threats?
I'd say competing with our neighbors, competing with our districts with more resources to continue to offer amazing programs. Just next door, Arcadia has 20 teachers that are out of the classroom as coaches. We have 1 this year. They have amazing new facilities, a new performing arts center. Monrovia has beautiful new buildings. So it's really competing. La Cañada is they have some fiscal challenges like we do, but they also offer amazing programs. And there's a lot of private schools that we compete with. So I think the competition to continue to be the top performing district in the state is a priority. I think safety and security is also continues to be something that we look at. That's a big one here. We are declining as a school district. There's not a lot of new families moving in as we would like to see. We don't have apartments in San Marino, so we rely on new families coming in for kindergarten, and then they will feed our student population for 12 years. And so I think those are the big issues that face our district.
We've got some time for some audience questions. I'll walk over to you to talk to my one minute more.
Thank you.
It really doesn't work.
I have 2 classmates from San Marino High School that frequently ask me the question as though they think I might know the answer. To what extent does the lottery affect the school district? I'm assuming that I know nothing about this jail school education aspect, adding so many more to the equation. But considering the massive numbers of school districts involved now in getting a clear picture. Does that have any impact on how it would apply, say, to San Marino Beverly School District, to similar sized school districts in a lower economic, not a giant LA thing? How would that fit into the picture?
Lottery funding. Is that what you're asking? Lottery funding is we get a proportional amount as other districts, and it's not a whole lot of money. And when the lottery was originally sold to the state, schools would get all this extra money, and they basically just include that in our apportionment. It's really not any new money to us every year, so it doesn't help at all.
Does it help any district?
Not really. If it went away, it would hurt, but we're so used to the money that it's already budgeted and accounted for. It's not new money to us.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Turnus. My question is, you mentioned about the new style of teaching, instead of having rows and having different setups.
Yeah.
How are teachers being trained to adapt to this new style of teaching, and how is that impacting what they do?
It's a great question. How are teachers being trained to accommodate a new style of teaching and learning? And much of it is, as I said before, the curriculum has really driven a lot of the learning and the teaching. And so as we adopt new curriculum that requires our teachers to use it differently, deliver it differently, there's discussion boards, there is ways to evaluate kids while they're on their laptops, ways to assess kids. And so the structure of the classroom is just inherently changing based on that. With every student on a laptop, now tables are grouped differently. So teachers are more, I would say teachers are more facilitators of learning now, rather than the direct instruction. They're facilitating the learning environment for all the kids. John?
Since the issue of charter schools often makes the headlines, and with your obvious background interest in the general management area, what's the management relationship between school boards and school districts and charter schools?
So the question is charter schools. There's two kinds of charter schools in California. There is a district authorized charter school, and in a district authorized charter school, the district still oversees the operations of the charter school. And the funding goes through the district to the school. Then there are charter schools that are independently run, and they are not authorized by the school district. Those charter schools must be authorized by the county offices of education. And so the county offices oversee those schools and do the monitoring and oversights of those schools. And at the county, we did quite a bit of work with our charter schools. So there's the charter school movement is very interesting, and it's changing the scope of public education. LA Unified is getting heavily hit by enrollment because kids are going to these charter schools, and so they're losing funding. And districts are thinking of creative ways to open and authorize their own charter schools to keep the students. So everyone in California is fighting for kids. And districts-wide, statewide, districts are declining in enrollment. Over half the districts in California are declining. What does that mean? It means the population of students in California, something's happening. Either parents aren't having as many children or families are moving out of the state. I think it's a combination of a lot of things.
Jen?
I noticed on the plans that they were cutting them, that there were 2 media classrooms. How do you envision them being equipped? What kinds of things does it?
So the question was, at the new structure, 2 medium classrooms. every new classroom we build from here on out, we want to build it like a media classroom. And it's just got to be a large box with the ability to access technology and have flexibility in how the classrooms are structured. So I don't know how it's going to look. I would hope that from day to day it could look very different. And so it's a very flexible setting. Whereas a lot of you, when you were in school, the classrooms looked the same every day. And so we want it to be able to move around and have the kids move around and learn differently.
Any other questions from the audience?
What's the score?
What's the score?
4-0 Dodgers. Yeah.
So on that note, Dr. Chair, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us. Small token of our appreciation.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chernus. Thank you all for coming. Don't forget, next month is our special dinner month. On November 15th, we will have the Tournament of Roses Queen and Court with us. So invite all your little guests, daughters, granddaughters. There's going to be a lot of people here, and it's going to be our last dinner meeting of the year. So come November 15th. Thank you all, and have a good night.